I am a bit overwhelmed by your attendance today. OneMDB has been an issue that myself and also Rafizi we have been bringing up since 2010. 2010. It was an extremely difficult issue to explain, to get the media interested, and to get people to find out more about it. I've spoken about it in Parliament since 2 years ago. You can still find the speeches in my old blog in Malay. We knew that this is like an Achilles heel for Najib. We knew that this was an amazing, mega-sized scandal in the making. We just couldn't get it out there. Rafizi had an easier time with cows. Everybody loves cows in condos. It doesn't matter that OneMDB, when I raised it, was already 5 billion ringgit, 10 billion ringgit, 15 billion ringgit, 250 million only cows in condo, more exciting. I didn't even bother talking about OneMDB during the general elections. It will be a waste of time. Stick with cows. I'm overwhelmed today because after slogging on this for 4 years, I think the day has come when Najib must answer for the government's crimes in this tens of billions of ringgit scam. Let's start off with Petrol Saudi, the original home. Now, how I've come to describe OneMDB is Najib dug a hole called Petrol Saudi and found that he needed to dig a bigger hole to cover up the first hole. And when he starts digging that bigger hole, he realized that he needs to dig a bigger one to cover the old one. And it has become a race to see how fast you can cover up the previous hole. Now, I've talked about Petrol Saudi before. I don't want to go into big details, but this is a company started by someone the age of, if I'm not wrong, 31 or 32. Okay? I'll show you some things that you have not seen before. This is their website, Petrol Saudi. You can't read it, I'll read it for you. I didn't realize it would be so blurred.
Translation.
Okay, basically, it says there, Petrol Saudi was founded in the year 2000 by His Royal Highness Prince Turki bin Abdullah bin Abdulaziz Al Saudi, the son of King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz Al of Saudi Arabia, and a guy by the name of Tariq Esam Ahmad Obaid. This was their website in September 2009 when OneMDB first invested in the company. Okay? In December 2009. You see, like no change, right? There's a change already. It now says Petrol Saudi was founded in 2000 by Tariq Esam Ahmad Obaid. The prince disappeared. It seems quite odd that in September 2009, the government of Malaysia, via OneMDB, invested in a joint venture with Petrol Saudi. They invested $1 billion US. On the condition that Petrol Saudi invest $1.5 billion US in a 40-60 joint venture, to develop some oil reserves somewhere in Caspian Sea. I still remember in 2010 or 2011 during my PAC meeting where we first managed to get them to come. Where is this oil reserve? Cannot say. How do you know got oil? Next to it got oil. Shell got oil rig there. Esso got oil rig there. Therefore, where we have it, must have oil. Who is this PetroSaudi? You know what they showed us? The CEO of PetroSaudi, CEO of 1MDB, came to the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament. When we asked, who is PetroSaudi? They showed us press clippings. Press clippings of supposed PetroSaudi activities in Latin America. They didn't show us company profile. They didn't show us PetroSaudi balance sheet. They say that's secret. They only showed us press clippings. Never mind. So September 2009, they invested in this 40-60 joint venture. Suddenly come December, January, what happened? They decided, and this is, I must say, I didn't manage to get a quote, but if you read the chairman of 1MDB's recent press statement, I think yesterday, if I'm not wrong, yesterday or the day before, Monday's press statement, Tan Sri Lodin. What he said was that due to problems with the venture, we exited the joint venture. So they came out of the joint venture. But instead of coming out of the joint venture, take out the money and run, they lend the money back to PetroSaudi. So they took that money, 1 billion that they invested, then they lent the money back to PetroSaudi. Okay? Of course, they said they revalued it. They said that by the time, 6 months later, the value of the stake has gone up by 20%. That's how they make profit in the 1MDB. Revalue the share paper. Okay, so 1 billion became 1.2 billion. They lent the 1.2 billion entirely back to PetroSaudi. So I asked during the PAC to the CEO, how do you know they will pay back? PetroSaudi gave a guarantee. How big is PetroSaudi? Who are the shareholders? How much money does it have? Does it have any other bank loans? We are talking about our national money being lent to a company, 1.2 billion. No, we must know all these things. The PAC have the right to demand for all these things. The CEO, now see these press clippings again. Cannot give us the balance sheet. They say, oh, the shareholder must agree. Or rather, PetroSaudi must agree to disclose. Then only they can give it to us. This is the Parliament asking a subsidiary of our Ministry of Finance, and they can give us that sort of answer. Okay, so they did coincide with the fact that they found out that Prince Turki was never involved. And then, come October 2010, it changed again. If you go to PetroSaudi website now, it doesn't say founded in year 2000. It says founded in year 2005. So the government of Malaysia invested in a joint venture worth 1 billion ringgit with a guy who is 32 years old, whose company was only barely 4 years old. I'm 42 years old. I also run listed company before. How come never do this with me? That's why I'm here in the opposition, because no kang tao in the government. And the most important thing behind PetroSaudi, where the whole happened, is this stupid Ponzi scheme. What happened in the Ponzi scheme? Very simple. This was first raised by Dr. Sri Anwar and Rafizi. That in an account, financial accounts for March 2010, KPMG put in an emphasis of matter. Emphasis of matter is not a qualified account. Not a problem, but please take note of this thing because it's very iffy. Why is it emphasis of matter? Because we are not sure whether this 1.2 billion lent to this PetroSaudi can be repaid. The first interest not collected yet. Then, thankfully by 2010, end of 2010, okay, they made their first coupon payment of 87 million prorated. Then KPMG in 2011 accounts March 2011 accounts lifted the emphasis on matter. Then, in January 2012, again, they managed to successfully make payment of 105 million coupon payments. Now, when you lend money in bond forms, you only need to service interest for the entire period. 17 years bond, 11 years bond, sorry. Okay, pay interest every year, bullet payment of the entire principal only at the end. But at least they are servicing their interest every year. Or we think. What 1MDB didn't tell us at PAC was that in 2010, before December 2010, 1MDB lends them another $500 million
Oh.
And then they paid the 87 million interest. And then before the January 2012 payment of $105, they lend them another 200 million. So we are lending them money, more money, for them to pay us the interest on the first one. Ponzi or not? Yes. Digging a bigger hole or not? So total we lent them 1.7 billion. US dollars, not ringgit. Now that's where the, first loan came. And then all the debt snowballing. All the other debts came about. Now we know that today's debt is 42 billion. Okay, 1MDB. Oh, earlier, to lend them the $500 million and the 200 million US dollars, they borrowed money to lend 1MDB money for 1MD borrowed money to lend Petro Saudi money for Petro Saudi to pay us the interest. Okay, so you note the Remy involved. So they keep borrowing money. Now, when they borrow money, the very interesting aspect of the way they borrow money is somehow they are very generous. Number one, debt discounts. The first loan that they took, the very first one, the 5 billion ringgit that was used to invest in Petro Saudi. Okay? It was a 30-year loan, 100% government guaranteed. So this is one of those that was admitted to be 100% government guaranteed. But there was a discount. The discount was, I borrow 100, I collect only 87 ringgit 92 cents. So it's a 12% discount. Now in bonds usually there is discount. It's not an abnormal thing. But 12% discount. What was the interest? The coupon interest is 5.75%. Hey, this is a 100% government-owned entity with a federal government guarantee. And they are paying 5.75%, higher than some of your housing loans that you are paying. Higher than some of your housing loans. And your credit rating cannot be as good as federal government guarantee. Think for the moment. Okay? Now, effective interest payout means what is the interest that you are paying on the 87.92? You are paying 5.75 on 100 ringgit, but because you have only collected 87.92, so you are actually paying a higher interest on the amount that you actually collected, 87.92. What's the effective interest payout? The effective interest payout was 6.71%. Sorry, somehow I forgot to type it in. 6.71%. Now, Malaysian government also issue bonds. It's called Malaysian government securities. Okay, Malaysian government securities. A 10-year Malaysian government security is 3.85%. Okay. Now, I know one is 10 years, one is 30 years. Cannot compare. But let's say give it 5%. So it's 30 years, the interest rate higher, 5%. Now the difference between 5% and 6.75%, what happened is whoever who took the first cut of the bond, that means I buy it at a discount, 12%, with a coupon payment of 5.75%, I can actually sell it to a second person for a profit. Because someone else is willing to take a lower interest. So who this middleman is, I shall not name names because I'm not as brave as Rafizi. But his name has been mentioned many times in his speech already. Okay?
YOLO
Made 1 billion as a middleman.
Oh, Goldman Sachs.
Wow.
Okay? You work out your maths, those who are investment bankers, go and do your calculations. It worked out to 1 billion. This amount was also stated in one of the age reports, I think 2 years back. 2 years back. So basically, when I asked in Parliament, these bonds, who were they allocated to? Who were the first parties to bought them? In Parliament, the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance, or the Prime Minister, same, refused to answer. Refused to give me names of funds who actually was the first buyer of this bond. Now this bond was never offered to the market. Never offered to the market. Usually bonds, when you raise, you offer it to banks, different banks will take up different plots and stuff. This was straight up given to particular parties. I've got other bankers telling me, how come we don't get access to any of this at all? This is very lucrative. They can buy second hand, but price already gone up. Interest already gone down. This is discounts, which is practiced for the first bond. Now the subsequent ones is more interesting, commissions. Now this code is taken directly from the prospectus of 3 bonds issued by 1MDB, okay, in 2012 and 2013. Okay, I read to you. The net proceeds of this issue, of the issue of the notes, which is the bonds, will be approximately 2.716 billion after deducting certain commissions, fees, and expenses. Now, these are not my words. These are the words of a prospectus prepared by Goldman Sachs. Is it Sachs or Sachs?
Matter by now, I guess.
Sachs is more exciting. Okay? Certain commissions, fees, or expenses. See distribution plan, blah, 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 blah. Okay? This is on a 3 billion note. Okay? 3 billion note, the net proceeds is only 2.716, which means the commissions, fees, and expenses was 208 million US dollars. Sorry, was 906 million US dollars. That was the net commissions. Now these were the commissions that were paid for the 3 issues. Okay, 1.75 billion, they paid 196 million. The second issue, I don't have the prospectus, so I dare not say how much is commissions, but I will expect it to be exactly the same as the previous because it's done by the same manager, issued at the same time. 196 million, 11.2%. The third one, March 13, 3 billion by 1MDB Global Investments, 906 million or 9.6%. Sorry, that's Ringgit, I think. That's Ringgit. That should be Ringgit. The last one should be Ringgit. That's not US dollars. US dollars would be 282 million US dollars. Okay, 282 million US dollars. That's 906 million ringgit. 9.6% percentage, correct. Average 10% fees, or 10% commissions, fees, and expenses. Now I've already said this, and many of you have seen my speech on YouTube. For some reason, it was viral. Other countries pay what? Uruguay, they pay 0.2%. Mexico, they pay 0.1%. Malaysia, they pay 10%. 100 times more. 100 times. And these bonds elsewhere are also issued by Goldman Sachs. Same. No? Okay, Malaysia, maybe smaller bonds by Syarikat Penerbangan Malaysia, the company that leases planes to Malaysian Airlines. 0.5%. 0.5%. Tenaga Nasional, smaller issue. The smaller it is, the higher the percentage. 1 billion, 200 million US dollars. Okay? 1%. 1MDB. They pay 10%. Now when I made a fuss, they said, no. How come got commissions? Goldman Sachs said, no commissions. We don't pay third parties. We are a professional firm. We only pay to lawyers and accountants. And ourselves. 10%. 1MDB came out. What did they say? They contradicted what Goldman Sachs said. They said, no. Not everything paid to these professionals. Some of it was discounts. Some of it was discounts. Just like the earlier one. So because there's a discount, they collect less, it's parked in here. But if you look at the prospectus, a bond issue, for those who are familiar with bond issues, if there's a discount, it will be stated in the prospectus. It must be transparent on all bondholders, how much you're paying to collect how much. But in the prospectus, I have one copy here. This is for the 1.75 billion loan. No discount. Issue price, 100%. But I asked the Minister in Parliament, Minister Ahmad Maslan that time, told me the discount was about for the what do you call it, 1.52 billion discount that we were talking about, 1.5254 billion fees. He said about 500 million was discount, only 1 billion fees. 1 billion to raise 4.75 billion US dollars. 1 billion ringgit fees to raise 4.75 billion US dollars. It still works out to 7% fees, which is ridiculously high. Okay? So either there's hanky-panky going on, or we have a bunch of idiots running 1MDB. Or both. Now this is the commissions. Then you have discounts, you have commissions, you have guarantees. We all know the 5.8 billion federal government guarantee, which has really been disclosed. The government says it's only 5.8, nothing more than that. Then came the letter of support. Rafizi already told you about letter of support. Ahmad Maslan has made letter of support the most hot research item on Google in the last 1 week. Now, let me give you the exact wordings of this letter of support. In the letter of support, it does say there is no express or implied guarantee intended. Okay? Provided or expected from us in this letter of support. But at the same time, despite no implied or explicit guarantee given, if you look at 3B, in the event 1MDB, as shareholder of the issuer, which is 1MDB Global Investments, fails to provide the required funds as stipulated in paragraph 3A above, Malaysia shall then step in to inject the necessary capital into the issuer or make payments to ensure the issuer's obligations in respect of the debt are fully met. Okay? It says no implied guarantee, express or implied, but if 1MDB fails to pay, Malaysia has to pay. And this Ang Moa, this Mat Saleh, this orang putih, I know some embassy people around, you're very clever. You all don't trust the Malaysian cause. This document explicitly states that any legal challenge on this letter of support shall be done in London. I suppose London costs harder to gao tim lah. And to make it even more stringent, to tell you that this is really in effect, even if there's no express or implied intention of a guarantee. In effect, a guarantee is when we look at the events of default. The entire bond defaults if the letter of support, item 4, payment obligations of the government Malaysia under the letter of support do not rank pari passu or at least equally with all other unsecured and unsubordinated external public indebtedness and all other unsubordinated obligations of the government of Malaysia. So it basically says that this letter of support is equal to all government debt that is unsubordinated. It's government debt. It's a contingent liability. And worse, it also says that it will default if a Malaysia event happens. What is a Malaysia event? It states that, I'll just highlight B. The government of Malaysia defaults in the payment of principal or interest in excess of 75 million US dollars. So if Malaysia fails to pay 75 million US dollars, any debt anywhere to anyone, the entire bond issued to 1MDB defaults. You tell me that's not a guarantee? That's harsher than a guarantee. So call it, what's the proverb? Call a rose, whatever name you like, it's still
Roses by any other name will smell just as sweet.
yeah, roses by any other name will smell just as sweet. In this case, I don't know whether it's just as sweet. Guarantee by any other name will spell just as bad in this case. Now, these are the loans, the 5.8 billion got government guarantee. 3 billion US dollars, or approximately 10 billion ringgit, got letter of support. Only 16 billion ma, not much lah, huh? We got 42 billion debt. 16 billion guarantee only what? So what happened to the rest of the debt? Got, they take loan shark guarantees. How loan shark guarantees? Let me tell you. Earlier I said about the two bonds issued in May 2012, 1.75 billion each, total of 3.5 billion. Okay? They were issued at 5.99%. Now, they were issued on guarantees by two parties. One is, of course, 1MDB themselves, they gave a corporate guarantee. And the other guarantee is by International Petroleum Investment Corporation of the Abu Dhabi government. So, very nice, all this Abu Dhabi, they're willing to guarantee our debt. If you wish. For them to guarantee the debt, first thing I have to do, after I borrow the money, 40% park with them. So I borrowed 3.5 billion, 1.4 billion I have to park with them. I cannot touch that money. Security deposit. Not only do I have to park 40% with them, I have to grant options for my power companies to them. The Power Tech Investment Holdings, as well as 1MDB Energy Langat for options. There's a price to the option. I don't have the details of the price. We don't know how much it is worth, but we do know in the latest financial accounts, this thick document that has been my bedtime reading for the past week, that they have, in order to list their company without encumbrances, without the options in place that makes it difficult for them to list, they have to buy back the options. The price of the options has not been fixed, but they paid a deposit to take it back. How much did they pay to take back the options? 250 million US dollars, or 838 million ringgit. Now, what does that mean? That means that effectively, okay, 1MDB paid 250 million US dollars, or 838 million ringgit to secure the guarantee. It's the same one. You gave them options, the options are worth at least 250 million US dollars. Effectively, you have paid 250, I give you 250 million dollars, please guarantee my debt for you. And I also give you 40% security deposit. Let me do some maths for you. Okay? They paid fees of 10% to Goldman Sachs to raise these funds. Right? They paid another 250 million US dollars to IPIC for the guarantee. And they can only use 60% of the funds raised. They cannot touch the balance 40%. So when I pay interest on this bond, 5.99%, I'm paying interest only for the 60% of the funds that is made available to me, net of the fees I paid to Goldman Sachs, net of the fees I have to pay to IPIC to secure the guarantee. And what is my cost of funds? 13.98%.
Junk bond.
As good as junk. Why is the Malaysian government subsidiary so 凄惨? Sorry, that's Teochew for so poor thing. Have to go down on the knees, pay 14% interest to secure loans. So desperate. It is unimaginable that a government subsidiary is so desperate to raise this type of money. And worse, I think for those who heard my speech, they paid a lot of money for the, what do you call it, the independent power producers which they acquired, Tanjung, Genting Sayan. So they paid cost of funds 14%. They paid a lot for these power companies which the age said that gave them returns of only 5%. So they pay 14% interest to get returns of 5%. Very good businessman. Okay? Are they in financial trouble? There are signs of it. They are not yet in financial trouble, but there are signs of it. Just 6.2 billion ringgit, which was due in 22nd November 2013. They requested for a 6 months extension to May 2014. Granted. Come May 2014, still not able to pay. Finally, they managed to resolve the deal in 7th of August by paying only 670 million. They have to raise another 5.5 billion ringgit in order to reschedule or restructure this deal. Okay? And then, second deal. They bought a piece of land from Tetlex Resources. A separate story. Tetlex is actually formerly known as Wijaya Global Baru, which is formerly the company that was involved in PKFZ. You know all these scandals all somehow linked together. Right? This land is in Pulau Indah, next to PKFZ. They paid this land 370 million. I issued a statement in March, if I'm not wrong, saying that they overpaid. Because in the books of Tetlex, it was less than 150 million. They paid 370 million. Doesn't matter. The conclusion of the deal is supposed to be 20th of August. They're supposed to pay up. They paid 10%. They're supposed to pay the rest by 20th of August. They couldn't pay. They postponed to 30th September. 30th September, they couldn't pay. They postponed to 10 October. 10 October, they couldn't pay. They postponed to 31st October. Until today, still cannot pay. Tens of billions of ringgit that they are boasting about in their books, assets lah, cash lah, they can't pay 300 million ringgit. There's something not quite right in there. And you can understand why they are so desperate. And that's where the energy bailout comes about. Okay, so they bought Genting Cyanide for 2.3 billion, they bought Tanjung for 8.5 billion. Expensive, 16.5 times price earnings ratio with a lot of the power plants expiring soon. Okay, Genting, they sold for 2.3. In their books, they recorded 1.9 billion in extraordinary gains. This is in their financial statements. I can't create this number. It's from their financial statements. Okay, and after that, immediately somehow 1MDB gets a 10-year extension to that. Okay, and remember, this is the loan to finance acquisition as high as 14%. Now, obviously, this is not going to help them pay their loans. We all know that their loan cost is too high, their earnings are too little, they got not enough money or earnings here to pay their loans, even with the extension for the IPPs. So what happens? The next thing happens. Okay, government starts giving them contracts. The first one, Project 3B, at least there was a semblance of open tender. They were not the cheapest. What the government did was they knocked out the cheapest and they became the cheapest. This was just replied to me yesterday in Parliament. They said some technical reason, the heat was too high for the one that was cheaper, even though these are from experienced IPPs, YTL. Okay, they were cheaper. I don't like YTL very much, but they were cheapest. If they are cheapest, I don't care whether you are crony or not crony, as long as you provide good service for us. Okay? They knocked them out and they awarded a contract, 11 billion ringgit, 2,000 megawatt coal plant to 1MDB. Not enough. In March, they awarded a 50 megawatt solar power plant in Kedah to 1MDB. Then in August, they awarded another one, 2,000 megawatt gas turbine plant in Melaka to 1MDB. Now, solar power plant, gas turbine plant, forget open tender, too long. Give direct. We are in a rush to list our company. We got no time to wait for open tender. Must immediately award. And in fact, the award is so fast, I asked the minister just now, this 2,000 megawatt plant, the tariff agreed already or not? Not yet. We award first, we discuss later. I asked the minister another question. I didn't want to make it difficult for the minister yesterday. I know they are also very difficult. Their hands are tied. Instructions came from above. The poor deputy minister answering. I said, why lah? We were doing so well doing open tenders. This is an improvement. I was very happy. You know, at least the government is improving other open tenders. Why now we reverse back to no open tenders, direct negotiation? Negotiation pun tak ada, direct award saja. You know what the minister answered? The minister answered, maybe 1MDB milik kerajaan. Tak mungkin syarikat kerajaan bila kita bagi kontrak sama dia, dia akan bagi harga yang tinggi. It becomes a case of, because it is government owned, therefore we can award direct to them. Like that, all the other companies just go away. Everything award to companies owned by our Malaysian government. In fact, why create 1MDB at all? Just give everything to Tenaga lah. Why have IPPs at all? So the whole rationale is gone. They are just desperate to award them contracts, and there are 2 more rumored contracts. I put a star there because it's rumored, but it's written in a star, so it should be accurate. 4,000 megawatt gas turbine in Datu Sembilan, 780 megawatt hydro plant in Ulupadas. The minister in Parliament yesterday said it's not confirmed yet. Okay. Last bids. I know my time is up. Real estate scam. How to create cash out of thin air. Bandar Malaysia, 495 acres, Sungai Besi Air Base. We all know where it is. Prime land. I asked my developer Tauke here, 74 ringgit you buy now. You know what he told me? He told me 200 ringgit I bite your hands off. But never mind. They still are supposed to pay 1.6 billion to the government. But they don't have to pay. Why they don't have to pay? Because the air base needs to be relocated. How much does it cost? 2.7 billion. The cost of the land 1.6, but to relocate the air base that's there, 2.7 billion. Never mind. 2.7 billion, then actual cost of relocation. Okay? That means they actually do a offer to someone. Everything settled. How much? 2.1 billion. Who did they offer to? LTAT. How is it involved? LTAT involved? The chairman of 1MDB is from LTAT. Was there tender? No tender. Direct award. Okay, never mind. Okay, but the government is paying them 2.7 billion. The contract is only 2.1. Never mind. When they want to relocate, they go to the market to raise money. They raise another 2.7 billion. From who? From Affin Bank. Who owns Affin Bank? LTAT. And because of 1.6 billion is the cost of the land, they are paid 2.7 billion to relocate. They award only 2.1 billion, but they took another loan of 2.7 billion. The net proceeds from 1MDB Sungai Besi airfield is 1.7 billion cash in the pocket for them to use. The project hasn't even started. In the books, the project hasn't even started. That's why the land can still be revalued. Once the project starts, the land cannot be revalued anymore. That's the way the accounting treatment for land is. Okay? The other one, how to inflate value out of thin air. This is the KL International Financial District, Tun Razak Exchange. Okay? Rafizi talked a bit about it. I'll give you the exact numbers. They bought the land for 194 million from the government. 6 months later, they inflated it by another 827 million. Add value. Okay? The value increased. Valuation increased. In 2012, add another 570 million. In 2013, add another 2.7 billion. In 2014, they add another 897 million. This is the total revaluation of properties that has happened in 1MDB. Therefore, 1MDB, very strong, very powerful, very magical, very powerful. If you look at the profits, very good. 4-year profits add together 690 million. Well, not bad lah, 690 million, at least profitable. But without revaluation, loss of 4.3 billion. Not million, 4.3 billion. And the last slide, which I didn't manage to finish, but the picture says it all. It will have a domino effect on our economy. Once it collapses, everything else will have a run, and then we will suffer another massive economic crisis. And that's what the government is trying to avoid now. We need to quickly find money, find stupid people who will give them money in order to plug the earlier holes. All the holes that I mentioned earlier, they need to quickly cover it up, or cover it up faster than they can drown in it. Okay? And the best way to do it, GST small thing lah. GST small thing. The best way to do it, list the company. So they want to create this value of big company, list the company, get 8 billion, cover up some of these debts for a while, and make them last for another 2-3 years. Worry about the future later. And that is why the government is so urgent in awarding them contracts. And I can tell you, your electricity rates will go up in the future because they say, we got no money to subsidize you. The real reason, they have to award higher tariffs to 1MDB so that they can remain afloat and they can make profits. And that is why it is crucial for the people in Malaysia to find out about 1MDB, to talk about 1MDB, to make 1MDB the tool to bring down the Najib administration. Thank you very much. Thank you.